So in case you've ever wondered what almost every single BBC era Loona photo card looks like, laid out in piles on a table, kind of like this. So hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're reorganizing basically my entire Loona collection. Everything except for all of this pre-debut stuff, because none of this needed to move in order to facilitate any of this. So we start here. Basically, the impetus for this was getting another one of these Voltex binders and finally committing to like setting up for all of the Loona sets. And in doing so, I learned that they're, like, all things considered, there's still a lot of sets that I don't have any cards for, but in the amount of like Loona sets there are, it's probably not as many as it could be. So for Loona, I've always stored my collection in chronological order, or as close to chronological order as I can. For this one, for example, I don't actually remember if Orbit 2.0 came out before ++, but because I want ++ to have a spread, I'm going to put it there regardless, just so ++ can be a spread. So again, I finally have committed to making sticky notes and counting all of the Loona sets, basically all of the ones that actually exist, now that we kind of have like a finite number of them, which is wild. I figured out how many of these Voltex binders I actually need, because before, if you've never seen my collection before, there were several eras of POBs that were all kind of just shoved together on a miscellaneous page. And obviously, if I'm going to keep collecting the full set of them, each POB set needs its own page, because there's 12 per page, and I need all 12 to collect all 12 members. So I knew kind of in the back of my head eventually that I was going to have to do this. I just knew it was going to be like a colossal undertaking, because I love these Voltex binders, and I like that they're a good way to store an OT12 collection. If you want to do moving anything around in any of these binders, it's awful. It's a pain in the ass. And you have to be super careful with how you do it, because I'm sure there are pages that we'll get to in some of these, but if you shove your hand really far into these, you are going to start stretching out the pages. Like, the more you move cards around in these, the more you stretch out pages, and they're never going to go back to how they were. Which basically means I try not to reorganize these as much as possible. But again, I knew it was coming. I knew I was going to have to do it in order to actually set up for all of the sets that Loona has released. And before this current video, I had 4 of these Voltex binders, and I really hope I have not counted wrong, but I think all of the sets that I currently have written down are going to fit in the 5th binder that I got. So to kind of lay it out for you, essentially, everything I have written down here is, I guess I would say, all of the like standard stuff. I think an easier way to put it would be, it's all of the non-rare stuff, quote unquote rare stuff. So it's album cards, it's POBs, it's merch, all that kind of stuff. It's everything except for broadcast cards, the attendance cards,
signed Looniverse cards. I basically didn't include any of that kind of stuff in this current setup, solely because, well, I do intend to try and get those sets someday. They're not sets I anticipate getting, you know, in the next year. So if I ever do end up with, you know, an OT12 set of broadcast cards, like, that's something we can figure out at the time it happens. Because unless anyone out there is like a millionaire and wants to fund my Loona collection, I have, unfortunately, I have adult responsibilities that I need to pay for, and I do not make millions of dollars. So I cannot currently just buy a bunch of Loona broadcast cards. So they're not like a very present concern in my collection, so I'm not going to set up for them like they are, or like I'm going to get them, because if not, they'll just have like giant blank spaces in my binder for the next several years, and I don't want to keep doing that. So for right now, I kind of just set up for everything I thought was at least mildly reasonable. There are like 1 or 2 sets we'll get to later that I think will probably be some of the last sets I ever complete. But for right now, we'll for the most part pretend that all of the really rare stuff doesn't exist and it's not real. I also tried my best based on templates and looking up dates when things released to the best of my ability put all of this into chronological order. I almost don't want you to tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, I do, because I want it to be right. But like, the idea of having to redo a bunch of this a second time kind of makes me want to cry. I was like fully intending to make this video me taking out all of the cards as well as putting them all back in, but quite frankly, I sat down and did like just this binder, pull out the cards over the weekend, and it took me like 45 minutes just to pull out all the cards from just this one binder, and there were 4 of them. So I kind of made the executive decision that you didn't need to see all of that again, and you could just see the resleeving. So for hash, this is one of those things where, like, technically the MMT pre-order should come before the actual album cards, but because I want to have the spread, I'm just making like a slight readjustment. And like, it technically should go before, but since it's in the same era, it doesn't bother me as much. Like, there might be one day I decide when I have more of the flip that pre-orders that I actually want to rearrange it to be like by outfit concept, by album concept kind of thing. But for right now, since I don't have all of them or like a significant majority of them, I think I'm just gonna do them like as close to release order as I can. Basically, I cross-referenced a couple templates and came up with something that I was happy with. So yeah, MM2 pre-order should technically go before it because it's pre-order, but the spread, sometimes the spread takes precedence. So after the several hours it took to get all of these cards out of the binders, I then had to go through and sort them all and make all of the sticky notes for all of the sets I was either missing or only had 1 or 2 cards for. And then lay every single thing out in order, as you saw from the first clip, on my table. So I had like so much intention to put all of that in the video before I realized just how long it was going to take. Frankly, even this is going to take forever, like literally forever. I don't love the idea of time-lapsing all of this. Mostly because I confess, like if people put time lapses in videos, I'm not watching it. Like I know like some people really enjoy watching time lapses. That's great if it's your thing. But I would say like 90% of the time, if you do like a time lapse with like just music overlaid on it, it doesn't even matter what genre of video I'm watching. Like I'm not watching the time lapse. It's just not my thing. And since I mostly want to make videos that I would want to watch, I really don't want to time lapse any of this. Just because I think it's more interesting to hear people talk in the background, or at least that's why I'm watching videos, because I want stuff to listen to while I'm working or while I'm doing the dishes and stuff, because, you know, God forbid silence exists in my head. So I guess you'll know because you're already watching this video, but might be split into 2 parts. I don't know yet, as I'm filming this currently. But I don't know why I was like in my head about this, like planning out this, like making this video. And I was like, oh, like realistically, it'll only take me like 45 minutes to an hour to do all of that. And that, like, in my head was including the amount of time it was going to take to go through and take all of these cards out of the binder and then put them all back in. Like, organize them all and put them back in. And I'm like, I don't know what delusion I was living under that I was going to be able to do that in, like, a reasonable amount of time. But, like, ambition did not meet reality. So, we're left with this just re-sleeving video. And we'll see if it ends up being 2 parts. But hey, if you've ever wanted a comprehensive look at, like, basically almost asterisk every photo card that Loona ever released, here you go. Again, this is another one of those things that's slightly out of order, but because I have the group light stick cards here, I am actually going to put the first light stick before the summer package. Good heavens. Just so you kind of maintain the consistency. Ugh. Getting to the end, they're like significantly harder to get open. So we're going to be just slightly out of order to make it look a little bit better in the binders. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for consistency and looking at it. This is also a thought to be had. So the next thing is the 2020 summer package, and how I used to have it laid out in my old setup was by member, and then it kind of looked like this with the sticker and the photo card from the package, and then the two, this is not going to stay up, the hollow cards here. But I'm thinking maybe because the binder ends weird like this, we can actually just put the stickers as like an OT12 or OT11 pattern, and that way it won't look quite as weird that we're splitting the summer package down 2 binders. Because at least they'll still be full sets with how it's set up now. Lips. I will have to find and see if I have any leftover fillers for Hustle, but I think for right now, that's the first binder. So here is binder number 2, where we'll start with the summer package cards. And this time we actually have to fill the entire binder because we don't have the luxury of pre-debut not needing to be moved. This one's kind of out of order because I've now switched what I was doing from the initial binder. But here is that set. Kind of sad that the binder doesn't start on a full OT12 set, but that's just how this split happens. I'll probably at some point, because I don't have all of the hollow cards, I'll probably end up rearranging to try and find sets. Because I think there's kind of 2 different sets, but some members aren't consistent in that. Like Yojin and Kimlip are wearing the red outfit from that. Hyunjin is not, but Hyunjin's flower crown matches with Kimlip's flower crown, so those have to go together. And then Heejin's is also outside, so hers has to go there. But then she's not wearing the red outfit in that one either, so it's really a toss-up of how these get organized. I'm sure there'll be some rearranging done as I get more of them. We get into our first era with Pobs, with Midnight. So I tried my best for most of the eras that have this many Pobs to actually try and figure out what was a Pob and what was a fan sign. This one here. Or like an event card, because those will go after the actual album cards. Those 2 are the Pobs, and then we'll do all of the album cards. I'm also very, very sure that at some point I will probably in this video like mess up member order at some point. Maybe I've already done it, who knows. Because like I usually remember, and then just I'm either like missing a card, so I just black out and put the member where they're not supposed to go, like the next card, or I'm just not even thinking about it as I put the cards in. I've also gone back and forth on all of these eras that have the 12 cards per member, on whether or not I want to do like keep the member pages, or if I want to do like sets of 12 where every member is on the page. I do know that at least for Midnight, I definitely want to keep it this way because Hustle was not here for this album, and this just like saves me from having to do an empty pocket in every single one of those pages. So instead, we can leave no blank spots here, and everyone just gets their own page. And it also makes me less sad that Hustle wasn't here for this era. Especially now that we know that Loona's time together as a 12-member group was so finite, it's so sad to me that Hustle missed like a fifth of it. Like she was gone for like, what was it, like over a year? And like all in all, Loona as OT12 like was only around for what, 2018 to 2022-ish? So like the fact that she wasn't there for a whole year of it makes me really sad. And by doing it like this, I can be less sad about her not being there. And just saving gaps in my binder, because this is already so many Loona cards. Like this is already an insane amount. I don't need to be like wasting a bunch of spaces. I'm also doing my best as I go through these like member sets to kind of pick like how I permanently want them laid out. I'm not saying like they'll never be moved again, but for the most part it'd be nice to at least get them in the order that I want. I've seen people do this like a couple different ways as far as layouts. I know a lot of people usually do like their favorite card in the middle row here. I try for the most part so like for these three D version Dreddy cards, I'll put her in the middle because the background is the most different out of all of them. And the other two kind of have like the blue background going on. That one's really crooked now. Because like there are very few Loona cards that I don't actually like. Like I'm sure there are some here and there that like I would make changes to personally, but for the most part, like I wouldn't have collected all of these Loona photo cards if I didn't like Loona or their cards. Do I think we needed 12 per member BBC? No. But like for the most part for me, it's about keeping balance on the page, or at least a semblance of balance that like I think looks nice. So like for Eve's D here, usually I would put non-selfies in the middle, and like if there's two selfies, but this background is so different that I'm gonna put her like in the middle, so the green backgrounds are on the outside. So it's kind of just, you know, case by case basis of what I think looks the best for each thing. And I'm sure, like, there are some people out here who look at this and be like, I would never organize my collection that way, it looks bad. Well, that's the beauty of collecting and like seeing other people's collections. There's a lot of people's collections where I'm like, I would never organize it like that. But like, if it makes you happy, you organize your collection however you see fit. And at least presently, I'm for the most part pretty pleased with like how this layout looks. I definitely considered at one point switching all of these Voltex binders to the Meow Cafe big ones that do the OT12 pages. I went back and forth on it for a little bit, and like the one benefit to those pages over these is the fact that like there would be an option if I wanted to see all of the backs of the cards. I could just single sleeve these, like because these are double-sided, I'll never see the backs of any of the cards. And I just think for the most part, I don't care as much about the Loona photo card backs. Like, basically until Flip That era, they all just looked like this, with the occasional different color. And it's like, yeah, I guess I could do it so I could see them, but at the same time, like, I already have these binders. It would be a pretty significant chunk of money to go out and spend all of the money to replace all of them, get all of the pages I needed to do that. And then, like, what would I do with these binders? I already have them. I'd really prefer not to just get rid of them. So I kind of just decided, at least for now, that I, for the most part, don't really care. Especially because it was pretty significantly cheaper to just buy another Voltex binder and not replace every single one of these binders with the ungodly amount of pages I would need to do that. So these are the first ones that I got sticky notes for. I basically just made sticky notes for like any set that I either didn't have any cards for, or I knew that I only had 1 or 2 cards for them, and I wouldn't remember based on like the singular card that I had what set that it was. So like in the future now, when I get more cards from all these sets, it'll be a lot easier for me to flip to the page and be like, oh, here's the sticky note that says this is what this set is, instead of guessing. Because again, there's so many of these sets that look so similar. Like, especially, where is it? Where is Eve's other card? Like, these 2 Eve cards, microscopically different to me. So like with the sticky notes, it'll just be time saving instead of having to like immediately have memorized what order the sets are in. I'll know pretty much right away when I flip open the binders to store photo cards that, oh, this is where this one goes. I'm gonna try not to think too hard about these sets, because I had already gone through probably about a year ago at this point on my own time and rearranged how I set up all of the 5 patterned ones. 5 patterns, the sets with like 5 cards per member in them, because I used to have them done 2 members to a page, where I would do like a zigzag of the 2 members and then the corners would be empty. And I switched almost all of the sets to be like this instead. The one that you'll see is still like that is the 2022 Season's Greetings, is it? Where I kept it that way because I had an extra card already to go in the corners. So I liked how the setup looked with those cards in the corners, and I didn't want to change it. And like, I always think it's nice that they gave us like so many cards and stuff like the Season's Greetings. But at the same time, like, during Loona era, there was like such same face selfie syndrome most of the members had. So like, we get all of these like bulk sets of cards, and it's like the member has their face tilted at like 2 degrees more of an angle. And it's like, I don't really know if we needed all of these sets. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm not grateful for having these cards, but at the same time, like, if the cards were going to be so similar, did I need to store 60 of them? I don't know. Here is Orbit 3.0. I think I talked about this in my collection video, but this might be one of my least favorite sets, like, of all of Loona. Like, I don't even think there's a card in this set that I hate individually. Well, Go-On's isn't great because her hair was not taken care of at all. But like, they're all fine on their own. I just look at this and go, why was this a set, you know? Okay, so the next set is this On Wave Concert. And I think, so I have all of the like set that you got, and the ones that I'm missing are the pouch cards. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do member sets. So like, we'll put the pouch card there and then put the rest of the set like that. And then we'll do like each member down the line here. God, these IDs just move constantly. I should probably double sleeve the like PVC IDs in order to keep them from moving around so much. But more things I just haven't gotten around to, really. And the only reason I'm gonna do it this way with the pouch card over here is because at least it somewhat keeps separation between the cards. Because the reason I haven't like pursued any of the pouch cards yet is because they are so similar to the, I think it's the VVIP cards, but I could be wrong. They're like so similar to one of these sets that once again, it's like we didn't need that card. Like, it was completely unnecessary because it's basically the same selfie. So like, I figure this way, at least if it's over here, it's like split up with the ID and it looks a little bit separated. And it's like, no, I didn't collect the same card twice and spend like $50 to $80 on the one of them. No, I promise I didn't do that. Maybe I'll put the put the pouch one in like a hollow sleeve to make it look special, just so it looks a little bit different. Because like, I've seen them on templates and I'm like, why? Why did we pick like the most similar selfies we possibly could have picked for these? So as we get those, we will, I guess, be able to see if it looks really bad, and I should have not done that, but we're gonna pretend that that's gonna look really good right now, and we're gonna move on. So I couldn't actually remember what was and was not a pre-order, so the only one I'm putting down as a pre-order is this MMT set, and I kind of don't want you to tell me if I'm wrong or not, because now we're gonna put in every single one of the calendar cards and every single one of the album cards, and I don't think I ever want to move those again. I did finally make the executive decision to put these back in here. I don't think they were in here for my collection video because I had taken them out at one point to give me more space in the binders to store more cards that I cared a lot more about. I went back and forth on whether or not I was going to commit to putting all of these in Dragon Shield sleeves again, and I ended up doing it because they're the only clear size sleeves that I use in this size, and I figure, like, Loona are my alts, I might as well treat all of it the same. Like, yeah, I probably could have found a bunch of random sleeves that I've gotten in sales and trades to fill these up, but we might as well keep the consistency and just do it like this. Although it did break my heart a little bit to like pull out the giant chunk of Dragon Shield sleeves that I had and like see it basically have itself after I sleeved all of these cards. I did get a pretty significant amount back after I downsized my Dreamcatcher collection because those were also in Dragon Shield sleeves, so kind of reclaimed a lot of sleeves, so I didn't really have to buy new ones yet. I'm rapidly approaching that as a necessity, but I'm hoping I can get away with not buying any more this year, and I think it might be feasible because at this point, like, the bulk of the new cards that I'm getting into my collections are for Lucemble and like all of the post-Loona stuff, mostly Lucemble because there's just so many of them, and Lucemble and Artemis all have different custom sleeves because they all go in the Meow Cafe binders, so they need different sleeves, or at least the pages I have don't fit the Dragon Shield sleeves. So I'm hoping that means I can get away with not buying more of them. I really wish I could have gotten away with not splitting all of the members' photo cards, but alas, 'twas not to be. Heejin will just get to be in this binder, and the rest of the members will have to start the next binder. So I decided in the overnight pause that I took in between when you last saw me and now that I hated that. So I rearranged. I put all of the calendar cards here, and I'm gonna add the first with drama round here so we don't split up the album cards. Okay, now we can go to the next binder. Okay, so now we can actually start this binder with the album cards. So here is Heejin's, here is Hyunjin, here is Hassel. Next we've got Yeojin. Next we've got Vivi with her cards for a version that are so similar that to this day, sometimes I just sit here and stare at these two cards and go, do I actually have the right cards? And honestly, I just accept that, like, I do and hope for the best because I'm not going back to buy more and cards to find out. Here is Kim Lip's page. I also think Kim Lip's C version, like, very underrated cards. I know Anne has a bunch of cards that are like more sought after, but I like this card, very underrated. I think it's really pretty. Here are Jinsel's cards. Here are Chetty's cards. Here is Eve's. Here is Choose Set. Just one more to actually find, and then I'll be done with it. Here is Go On. And finally, Last but not least, Harris Hedges album cards. Now we get back into Pobs, fan signs, whatever. I do have all of Chetty's complete for all of these sets because someone was selling their collection, but still missing a decent amount. But I do have every single one of these from the With Drama set, and I did actually get Jinsel's in the mail, so she will be added next time we store cards in one of these binders. Nope, Yojin goes here. A. Pretty sure this is the offline one that scares me. And then we end with the Make Star set. So there's all the fan signs and such from. And now we get to the Lightstick Anniversary set. Truly a set that's like so close to being perfect if everyone was just wearing the crowns and or holding the light sticks. Like, just pick one. Surely they all took photos with them. But alas. I always wonder if there's like other big groups like 17 and NCT. Like, if you collect full group for them, do they also have issues with like not having super cohesive sets? Like, is it always just like one member that screws up the set? This is summer package. I think this is 2021. I think this is the pre-order set. You know, when they were nice and gave us full pre-order sets. I always felt like for like a 12-member group, you have to be a little kinder. Like, you have to give at least a couple pobs. Because 1 out of 12 for like something so expensive, like this, the summer packages were never cheap, and just to give 1 out of 12 pobs is genuinely insane to me. Okay, now we get to Hula Hoop. These are the member cover jewel case cards. I feel like every time I reorganize my binder, I go back and forth on how I actually want to store Hula Hoop. I used to have it with like the Make Star card, the jewel case, and then the regular version, and now I do it back in OT12 sets. Truly, I just can't decide. Before I had the fan sign card stored first, and now I'm switching it back. I don't know what it is about this era and these cards that make me just constantly want to reorganize it. So these are the like normal limited jacket cards, because we couldn't have that for Luminous. That simply would have been too easy to collect. The limited needs to have its own cards, and then no one's gonna buy the limited, so they're gonna be impossible to get, and then you're not allowed to buy anymore because of a boycott. Not that I'm complaining about the boycott, let me be very clear there. It's just been super weird to me how hard it is to find the limited cards for Luminous. Like, surely people bought that, right? But they've truly been wildly difficult to find. So this one is, get in there, not friends. Truly another very strange release. And part of me always wonders, like, if we had, like, if BBC wasn't on the list of, like, world's shittiest K-pop companies, like, would we have gotten more of these, like, subunit things? I mean, knowing BBC, it would have been, like, the same rotating group of, like, 6 members because they only cared about 6 of the members. But, like, do you think we ever would have gone back to, like, subunit songs more than we did with Not Friends? Things I always think about. Because that one just seemed so random, and I'm not sure if it's specifically because that producer just wanted to work with them or whatever. I wonder what the, like, legal contract looked like for that. This is 2022 Seasons Greetings, which is one of the only ones I've maintained the original layout for, which I've already screwed up. That's not how this goes. It has to go like this. So this is how I used to do, like, all of the ones that had 5 cards per member, where it was a little zigzag with 2 members on the page. And I've just kept it for these because I like having the replicas of the postcards in the corner. I think it balances the page nicely. I always think it's kind of a shame with sets that are this big that, like, I'm grateful that we got sets this big. Like, I'm never gonna complain about getting more cards in a set when they're not individual. But, like, I think the shame about these is that there's so many cards that I don't know if I've ever, like, truly processed each one of them, because there's so many really cute cards in this set, and I just think because there's so many, we tend to, like, not look at them individually. But I do think out of all the Seasons Greetings we got, this was my favorite, probably because of the 3, it was, like, the most different. Like, it was the most unique concept, because the other 2 were kind of just, like, generic, soft, outdoorsy, like, standard concepts. And I always appreciate when we get something a little more interesting. Like, if you're gonna make me buy a Seasons Greetings every year, I say, like, I'm being forced to buy any of this with a gun to my head. Like, at least make them unique and interesting. Because I do feel like, you know, there's only so many concepts under the sun, but, like, you can at least try to make it unique. Like, put your own spin on it. I do always, every time Seasons Greetings comes around, I always feel like the most bad for people who collect, like, SM groups. Because every time I see SM Seasons Greetings, I always, like, they look so generic. And, like, yeah, it's probably a production cost thing. The reason they standardize them across the entire company, like, it's probably the reason every single one looks the same across the entire company. Like, no matter whose you're buying, they're all, like, the same format. But I just think it's really boring. Especially if you collect multiple of the groups. Like, SM has so much money, they could be doing interesting things. I think it was today I saw Heejin talking on, I don't even know what Artemis uses. Obviously I don't buy it or like use it, but like From or Bubble or like whatever, you know, one that they're using. And she was saying something like Artemis already has like another album in the works. I don't know if she clarified if it was like a solo for her or Artemis or whatever. And she was like, yeah, this year. And I'm like, what do you mean this year? When do you have time to do that? There's like a whole other leg of the tour that you haven't even started. And like, I'm pretty sure people who are still buying them or like Gomes can quote me in the comment section, but like, didn't they just recently release another fan call for Doll? Like, I'm not even convinced we're done with that era. Not that I've bought anything for like a while. But like, what do you mean you release? Don't pull a Lucemble where you release lucky draws and then 2 weeks later announce a comeback. Don't do that. Because it's already like almost mid-October when I film this. I guess it's still early, but like it's already October. So like, speaking of season's greetings, you're already gonna have season's greetings coming out soon. Like, when are we gonna have time for an entire another album release? It better be like digital only. That's at least just what I'm like hoping for. I'm like, please, we can't do this again this year. I need y'all to just like take a break. Go on vacation. And like wait until the new year to release something new. Because like I said before, season's greetings are looming. I am very curious if we're going to get an Eve season's greetings this year. Like, it doesn't seem like our company is doing a ton of the like quote unquote standard K-pop things. So I wonder if we actually end up with a season's greetings from her this year or not. Because I can't remember, was she even signed at like season's greetings time last year? I can't even remember. It's been a year for me. So like, I don't entirely remember things. But like, that would be a lot on top of having like another album release in this fourth quarter. Although I guess if we're going based off of Artemis's last album, we just don't get photo cards again, Mod House. I still don't think I'm over that decision to like not put photo cards in the album. That's wild to me. Like, it's crazy to me that you were so desperate to have your NFTs in the album that you decided that you just weren't going to put them in there at all so you could sell them in like a Barnes & Noble. Couldn't have just like not put the NFTs on the cards? Would it have been so tragic? It's also crazy to me that they had like the version with the objects and then didn't do more fan calls with them. Like, you had the Object Music album and you just chose not to do a bunch of fan signs with that one. is so strange to me. Like, I guess I can't prove it, but I feel like more people would have bought like into the fan signs if you would put the object music version as the one for the fan signs. They're doing so many with that like with Mew accordion version, and it's like no one needs more copies of that mod house. I promise. Like we're all good. We're all set on the versions of those. Like between all of the ones I bought, if the GOM hadn't asked like how many versions of it do you want, I probably would have ended up with like 15 versions of that. And it's like I didn't need that mod house. You could have calmed down. So I guess it remains to be seen like how we close out the rest of the year. As far as like, are we getting any more releases? I know Eve has also like teased a new album. I don't know how serious that is for this year. I do know if she does release another album, I will be buying as many of the pobs as I physically can afford. Like, I'd probably drop buying everything else just to buy more Eve pobs. Because those have proven way too difficult to find afterwards. And I don't know if I want to go through fighting for my life for them again on the secondhand market, if I could just like join for as many of them as I physically can afford. Like, I tend to not mind finding stuff after it's released. Like, as long as it's not a super limited release, I'm like, there are going to be people out there who have bought it and resold it. And honestly, for me, that's kind of like the fun of collecting. Like, I love hunting down cards and trying to find them and all that stuff. And like finding really good deals on them. I don't know if I'm willing to go through the fight that Eve Pops have been. And I don't even have that many so far. I know I haven't commented on like too many individual cards, but like honestly, I think this might be one of my favorite VV cards of all time. She's so pretty in like all of these like outdoor flower concepts. Because like all of her cards from One of a Kind era in that like outdoor concept are also super pretty. I just think we always need to be putting VV in outdoor concepts, basically. Kim Lips cards. From what I've like heard from other people, apparently Kim Lips Flip That cards are like really difficult to find, which is super weird to me because I think like she was one of, if not the first member I completed for Flip That. And I don't know if it's more just a factor of like I was around during the era. I didn't have to back collect a bunch of the cards. Is Chetty my favorite pull of all time, mostly because I'm just glad I didn't have to track the card down. I do not understand Orbit's obsession with certain cards, to be honest. Like, is it just the novelty of them holding something? Because I wouldn't be like, oh, that's a demand. Like, that's a card that I want so bad. Okay, so you may be wondering why there's a weird cut and now all of these photo cards are in. Well, that will be because I filmed the rest of this binder, and then when I checked my phone was like, hey, you ran out of storage like 30 minutes ago. I am not taking all of these out again, so that is mythical footage that will never exist. It's gone in the ether. So we're just gonna flip through all of the cards that I've put in this binder. I do not remember what I was talking about. The world will just never know. So here's the rest of the Flip That album cards. Then there is some broadcast replicas, and then just all of the miscellaneous fan signs, lucky draws that I don't have a lot for. Except for this one Soundwave set, which I have almost completed. And then we end this binder on the Wonderwall. Fan sign? I think it was a fan sign. So now we can finally get to the last binder, and I'm going to check literally every minute to see if my phone is like, you don't have any storage anymore. Finally get to the newest binder I bought, and I found out that if you buy these binders actually off of the Vaultax website, they have so many more color options. And purple is my favorite color, so I did get the purple one to be the last binder. So this is all of the Flip That merch that I will get to one day. And version D. It definitely feels like as I get towards the end of the binder, I have fewer of the sets. Probably because once you get to Flip That, there's just kind of an overwhelming amount of sets to collect. So I've been more focused on the other eras first, plus the other eras are older. So just in general, they're more difficult to collect. So I started with the older stuff. In reality, I don't have sets I'm like majorly focused on to start with. I truly just am buying cards when I see them for a really good deal. Like, I'm someone who is very stubborn on things when it comes to collecting. I kind of know exactly what I want to pay for things and like how much I'm willing to pay for things. So like, you can offer me things, but like the likelihood of me accepting isn't super high, just because I know based on experience of collecting so far, like if I'm patient enough, I will find the card for what I want to pay for it. So we get to the Wonderwall package with the elusive Chew card that everyone likes to either overprice or not sell at all. So now we finally get to the beginning of the end. I think I'm gonna put the mood lamp at the end of these, keep all the sets together with the trading cards. That's not how this goes. Speaking of overpricing, there's obviously I buy a lot of stuff off of Mercari Japan. And the wild thing about Mercari Japan is like, you're either getting the best deal of your life, or it's some of the worst overpricing you've ever seen, ever. And I was browsing through, you know, new additions in like the Loona search, and it looks like someone was dropping their entire Chew collection. And honest to God, I don't know if I've ever seen worse overpricing in my life. They were only selling them in sets, and like the set prices were absolutely wild. Like for her set of 12 Flip That album cards, for example, and it was like $180. And I was like, excuse me? How much? Did you add an extra zero? Like, absolutely wild to me. It would be like a set of 3 or 4 pobs of hers from Howl. Like genuinely 4 pobs, and they were like $80 US. And I was like, what? What do you mean $80 US? Who is paying that? Obviously no one, because I frequent like the search tags, and I don't think a single one of those sets is sold. Like even the ones with like the high demand Chew cards, which, like, good on us. I'm glad no one is willing to actually pay for any of that overpricing, but it's just like, what did you think was gonna happen here? I'll be interested to see if those sets ever, like, go down in price, because holy cow. And, like, I don't think anyone's ever gonna buy them at the prices they are at, so maybe they'll just sit there forever. Because there's also several Heju cards that have been posted literally for like a year plus, because they're all just insanely overpriced. Like, just regular Pobs from both Lucemble and Loona era posted at like $80. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Like, no one's paying that. No one is paying that price. Clearly no one has, because it's been, you know, like a year since they've been posted. Like, did you just forget about that listing and not update it? I just don't understand. I guess the sellers are just like really committed to these prices. But I guess, like, realistically, US Mercari is not that much better. I don't frequently buy stuff on US Mercari now because, like, it's just such a bad deal with all of the new fees. But I still obviously have things, like, saved in my likes on there, just in case it comes down to, like, a reasonable enough price that I'm like, yeah, I am willing to pay that for a card I need. But it's not frequent. But there are just some things I see posted on Mercari US, and I'm like, sick joke, y'all. Truly, truly you're taking it. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I do think it's incredible, the, like, environmental storytelling on Mercari US though sometimes. Because you'll see, like, a posting that's absolutely ridiculous, overpriced, like, isn't worth that ever. Then you'll just see a bunch of, like, this comment has been removed because it has to be moderated or something, and I'm like, I'm so glad that, like, every single person just tore into this poster in the comments, because it was like, every single one of those comments is like, this is overpriced. Because, you know, that's exactly what they said, and I'm like, well, good on us at least for, like, calling that out. Because they'll just be like normal album cards, and people will be like $50, and I'm like, okay, you gotta stop doing this. Like, while I have seen people buy overpriced things, I'm glad, like, mostly this community is willing to just call it out and say, no, you're not profiting off of us, this is ridiculous. Which I will say, like, if you are new to buying or trading or anything like that, like, please either, like, take the time to look up price guides or just, like, general community pricing of stuff, so that you know, like, the value of the cards you either have or you're, that way, like, you don't get taken advantage of. Because, like, I think most different groups, like, have, like, there's pricing guides floating around out there. So, like, you definitely have the ability to, like, look it up or ask, you know, collectors out there to help you. Like, most people are pretty willing to help people out. Did luminous cards that are going to be the actual death of me. Also the Loona stuff, which will be the death of me. I think the socks PCs should be easy enough to find. Like, I see those often enough. I'm not as worried about them. And I'm glad I have all of these bandana PCs, because I think Heju is a little more higher demand, so not worried about the socks. I am worried about this messenger bag set, and then the, like, million different down jumper sets we got. But I did actually see one of the messenger bag PCs. It was on Mercari Japan. Was it ridiculously overpriced? Yes. Did I think about buying it? Yes. Did someone buy it before me? Also yes. So like, I don't have that one because somebody else bought it. Unsurprising, since they're so hard to find that like even seeing them's kind of a miracle. But one day, like I said, patience is going to be the true winner of my collection. And finally, the last set, the random cards. I do have, what is this, 4 pages here at the back. I think I might either put some of the IDs in the back once I start getting those. Might put some of the stickers. That was not right. Hang on. Might put some of the stickers back there. That's still not right. I'm doing an incredible job of screwing this up based on the cards that I don't have. Some of the like designed stickers might put in the back as well. I'm just happy that it's finally done. And one, I finally have my dining room table reclaimed because it's just been covered in Loona PCs for the last like 5 days. So that's exciting. And I also no longer have to keep rearranging this binder anymore. So it's done. Again, I've got the 4 pages in the back here, but we will figure out what to do with those later. Thank you so much for joining me on this fun little adventure. For me, it's truly been like a week-long experience. I started doing this like 6 days ago. So this has taken up a lot of my life. Hopefully I can edit it down into some reasonable length of video. But thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble about Loona. See you in the next one.